Hey, Alchemist, and welcome to our Rainbow series. Our theme this year is Defy Gravity. Now, we defy gravity by excavating our inner landscape, which is our energetic system. And we discover where our suffering is. And you know what? We don't always understand where our suffering is. We may not know we're suffering because we can become conditioned and just think, well, this is just how life is. I just have to deal with it, and there's just really nothing that I can do about it. Now, if we see our life this way, this is a disempowered perspective, and it may be that there is something in our shadow that needs to be healed. Our shadow is where we have felt the pain of life and we didn't know how to cope with it. So it has never been healed. We've just kind of hidden it away, right? And so we don't always know that we have access to a powerful healing tool. And this healing tool is grace. But see, without grace, we will live our lives from this perspective that we need to control everything, or we need someone to come and rescue us. So we face life from the prison of our shadow, and we'll show up as the most challenged, limited version of ourselves. So we develop this awareness by excavating our inner landscape so that we can learn how to take responsibility for ourselves and live our life as the empowered being that we came here to be, and call forth the light and the grace and the quality of spirit that we need in any given moment to start the process of healing. Now, when we start the process of healing, we start to see the world as a mystic sees the world, right? We see God as everywhere present, everything that's ever been, everything that's yet to be. And even all of that working through us, right? God is present and working through each of us. We then act in the world as an alchemist. We take a stand in the here and now. We know that we get to decide how we are going to show up, right? If we want to show up in faith, we do that. And this is how we transmute the weight of our suffering, right? The metaphorical lead, and we transmute it into gold. So today, I'm going to talk about the shadow and the grace of the heart chakra, which is represented by the color green. Now, our heart chakra is the powerhouse of the human energy system. It mediates between our root, sacral, and solar plexus, and these are the chakras that govern our body, and then our throat, third eye, and crown, which govern our spiritual nature. It's our heart chakra that brings it all together so that we can live the truth of being an infinite being in a body and live joyfully in this physical world, utilizing our spiritual senses and living in faith, acting in love, and expressing understanding. We bring all of our gifts to this game of life. And this is actually the catalyzing force to bring heaven on earth. Now, the shadow of the heart chakra is wrath, which is vengeful anger. Now, anger on its own is not a bad thing. In fact, anger can move us to action when we see a need to make things right. And then when we take action, well, anger diffuses, right? We diffuse. But if we suppress our anger, anger turns into wrath, right? Because we are in our shadow of life is not fair and I don't get enough or have enough. And this means that I am not good enough, but I can't go there. It's too painful. So I want to punish what hurt me. I want to punish what disrespected me and made me feel less than. This is wrath. To have a wrathful heart, we are choosing then to keep looking for fault. We need something to keep blaming, right? To blame our pain on. Now, our brain has something called a reticular activating system. And it is brilliant. What it does is it focuses on whatever we keep focusing on. It will find evidence to support us. So if we want to keep finding fault and blaming, our reticular activating system will find proof, will find evidence why we should keep finding fault and why we should keep blaming someone else or something else. Wrath shuts down our heart, okay? The heart, the powerhouse of the human energy system. And it takes our reasoning mind and it turns it into a weapon of massive destruction. Now, in this shadow, love becomes conditional. We'll only love people when they're behaving how we want them to behave, when they're being easy to love. Now, in the shadow of wrath, the creation of our experiences slows way down because we're dragging a lot of lead with us, for one, but we cannot be in wrath and faith at the same time. Wrath eats at our faith and our intuition. In fact, I used to think that wrath, right? Wrath was always related to God because growing up and hearing Bible stories, there's all these stories about the wrath of God in the Bible. Okay, but in unity, we understand that God is a cosmic force, an expansive force, a creative force, a loving force. God is not a judgy force. But in ancient times, humanity projected all the best and worst qualities of themselves onto their gods. And so this is why we have smitey, judgy, petty, jealous, and wrathful gods. But in the book of Romans, the Apostle Paul writes, "The good of God is revealed through faith. The wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all the iniquity of men who unjustly suppress the truth." So when we act in faith, this is when we call forth the good. And when our thoughts are not in harmony with God, right? This is when we start to unjustly suppress the truth, right? That our thoughts not being in harmony with God mean that we are living from our limitation thoughts, our thoughts of, I am not good enough, and there is not enough, and life is not fair, which moves into wrath, which is, and now I want some payback. Now I want somebody to suffer for my suffering, for causing my suffering. Now, see, we are divinely designed in these bodies, in all of our cells. We are designed to be aligned with the divine within us. And that's why it feels good when we are aligned with God, right? When our thoughts are in harmony with the thoughts of God. And this is why when we are not in alignment with the divine within, when we are thinking those limitation thoughts and we are in our shadow, it feels bad. It does not feel good to walk around thinking, I'm not good enough and I don't have enough and life is not fair, right? It does not feel good to do that because it's not in alignment with the divine, right? With our divine nature. But we get conditioned, and so we don't think we can change this. We don't think it's something that can be changed. Now, when we're in our shadow, we will believe that our highest potential is that our fantasies will be fulfilled, right? Our desires to prove ourselves and prove our self-worth to those people who ignored us, abused us, shunned us, mistreated us. Our fantasies are going to be that we want to show them. Okay, that's what our highest good's gonna be. That's what we're gonna think our highest good is. She's so sweet. She's so good. I have a story of my own about wrath, and this happened several years ago. But I had entered a music contest, a positive thought music contest, and I entered this contest because I felt like I had to prove myself that I was in a small local music community where I didn't seem to ever get any attention or acknowledgement. And like people would talk about all these other artists and how great they were, but I wasn't given many opportunities to like show up with my music. And I felt this made me feel bad, of course, but then I decided I'm going to enter this contest and I'm going to show them. That was my idea. I am going to show them. And then when my song wins, they'll have to see that my songs are better than their songs. Hmm. That's wrath. I weaponized my music. All right. I was not coming from my heart. I was coming from a need to prove myself, and I wanted to show them. Now, what was really going on in me was that I had an entitlement issue. I did. And I thought that I should win because I had to prove myself and that I had the lack consciousness, right? I never received enough attention, recognition, support, encouragement, which of course this came from my belief that I was not good enough, that I didn't really have what it took to sing and write beautiful songs that would help others on their spiritual journey. Well, when I started thinking that I wasn't good enough to do that and I wasn't meant to do that, well, that's too much pain to cope with. That's too much pain to cope with. So it went to, I'm going to prove myself and I'm going to show them. They're going to be sorry that they never acknowledged me. They're going to be sorry they missed out on an opportunity to work with me. So you can see that wrath, it can show up in our lives quietly. Right? The whole time I was feeling all that wrath in my heart, on the surface, I just sat back and smiled at everybody. Yeah, great. I'm great. How are you? Okay, so this is wrath. Now, the grace of the heart chakra is fortitude. And Carolyn May says this about the grace of fortitude. The grace of fortitude refers to a quality of courage that goes well beyond the kind associated with standing up for ourselves. Okay, so right there, you can see that fortitude is a little bigger. It has a little more oomph to it, okay? The grace of fortitude is essential for those who have awakened to the challenges of their highest spiritual nature or their highest spiritual potential. All right, so you can see our highest spiritual potential is not those fulfilled fantasies where we get fame and fortune and we're proving ourselves to those people who hurt us. Our highest spiritual potential is, and this is also from Carolyn Mace, it's our capacity to become spiritually illuminated and so spiritually empowered. The goal of life is spiritual empowerment, to learn to use the power of our soul in acts of creation guided by divine instruction. Okay, this is spiritual empowerment. It is to listen and act in faith. To listen and act. Listen to your heart, listen to the divine within, listen to your gut, but to act in faith. And this puts us right into the path of service, right? Our soul's calling. But see, this requires fortitude, right? Bigger courage than what we ever imagined. It requires fortitude because we are growing into our spiritual potential. It's not handed to us. When we are in the shadow of wrath, we think it should just be given to us. When we're in our shadow, we have a wishbone, right? No, we don't have a backbone. We have a wishbone. And so the grace of fortitude, because we are growing into our spiritual potential, what this grace is doing is it's constructing the inner scaffolding that gives us a spiritual backbone, right? And we need this strength because our little internal, our set of parts, our little system of parts to keep us in check, to keep us small, to keep us safe, to keep us from going out in the world and getting eaten by a bear. In Unity, we call that our little me. It will fight us every step of the way using every trick in the book to get us to react or to get triggered into life's not fair, there's never enough for me, and which means, of course, that I'm not good enough, but that's too painful to manage, so I go into wrath, which is, and somebody is going to pay for this. Somebody's going to pay for all the pain that I am in. Somebody's going to pay for that. And it takes fortitude to face all that. It takes fortitude to face this life with a wild and open heart, Brene Brown says, strong back, soft front. And it takes fortitude to do that because we are believing in our inner divinity. And others in our lives may not believe that, right? They may not honor us. They may not support us. They may not encourage us, right? They may ignore us, right? So the fortitude is what keeps us moving forward into our soul's calling, what our soul is here to do. Now, I said I had entered this contest a few years back. Well, I did enter it again, and it was interesting that I entered it this time, and I felt really differently about it. That I felt like I want my songs to have momentum because I want them to go out into the world farther than I can take them, which means I need somebody else to sing them also. I want to hear some of my opening songs that I've written being played. I want to hear about them being played in other churches, right? I want to hear about this. And back when I first entered that contest, it was horrifying, the idea of somebody else playing my music, because I was so worried they would take my song and do something better. And now, and back then, if somebody took my song and made it better, that was a reflection of me not being good enough. But now I know if somebody takes my song and they make it their own, they take it into their heart because it means something to them, they do make the song better. But that's about their heart, right? My heart and my soul have already done something, I think, tremendous by just putting the song out into the world. We grow into our potential, right? So we need the fortitude, because to grow into our potential, we have to do the inner work, right? There is no getting around this. We have to do the inner work. We have to excavate our energetic system and find all of the areas where we are suffering. Okay, and just one thing at a time. Love it and do what we can to heal it. Call forth grace. Okay? Now, where wrath justifies our lack consciousness behavior, wrath will justify our self-pity, our victimization, and our vengefulness. Fortitude gives us the strength to do the hard thing that needs to be done, right? The inner work. Okay, the inner work. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Now, Don Miguel Ruiz said, you have mastered a soul lesson when the circumstance has not changed, but the way you respond has. This is true energy self-mastery, right? We learn to show up differently. We learn to show up in a more empowered way, meaning we are listening to our heart, to our soul, to that divine guidance within us. We are listening, and then we are acting. We are doing the work even though it could just be so hard that we don't want to. So our call to action, right? We'll start with our affirmation. I grow into my potential, right? You want to say that with me? I grow into my potential. I love this because it is a reminder. I grow into my potential, meaning I'm participating with this. I am participating with my life. We are participating with our life, or we're not. And then just random things show up, and we may never ever get to where we want to go. Okay. I remember when I started reading the work of New Thought writers like Napoleon Hill and Wallace Wattles, and I thought they were really interesting. I had seen the movie The Secret, right? Like, just think about what you want and you'll get it. And so I understood the idea of getting clarity of what you want. But Wallace Wattles, in his book in particular, he asked the question, what do you desire? Right? And that's easy enough, maybe. But then he asked, What are you willing to do to get it? What are you willing to do to get it? Now, if we're in our shadow, what we want will be about making ourselves feel better about how other people see us or have treated us. So what we desire is basically it's crushed by limitation, right? We're not going to actually be working on something beautiful to bring into our lives. We're going to be hoping that something will work out, right? We're not going to actually do the work because all we've got is a wishbone. We don't have a backbone. Okay, so if we're in our shadow, we just hope that this magical thing happens so we can prove ourselves and those folks can feel bad about how they hurt us. Okay, so over the next week, all of us will have ample opportunities to see where our focus is, right? Is our focus on growing into our potential or not? Okay. And we can look at what we're wanting, right? What are we wanting? Right. And so I know, like, I might ask it this way of myself. Do I want to show somebody else? Do I want to show up someone? Do I want to show how I'm better than them? Do I want them to feel bad so I can feel good? Right? Do I want to prove I'm right and make them understand how wrong and stupid they are? Or do I want this world? Do I want this life? Do I want this heart to show me what I am made of? To show me that I have what it takes to do what it takes, so that I'm living my soul's calling, right? So that my soul's divine expression is actually working through me, for me, as me. And I will see all of my life as a sacred assignment, right? How do you want to live this life, right? Is it just bad things keep happening to you, or is life happening for you? Is your life a sacred assignment? And see, all of this is about the heart, the powerhouse of our energetic system that unites our physical nature with our spiritual nature. You were created for life. You were created for the expression of life and the expansion of life. You are here to serve life. Life is not here to serve you. It's here to have your back. But we are here to serve life. And this takes fortitude. So if we are struggling, we start. We start with our heart and we just go through the graces, right? We just go through grace. We start with reverence and we see all of life as sacred, right? We're all connected. God is all things, and that means everything that's ever been and everything that's yet to be. And solutions and inspiration and guidance, it could come from anywhere because God is all things. Then we practice the grace of piety, which is devotion to all of life, meaning we seek only the wonders that are God. We don't look for the problems. We don't look to blame, right? We seek the divine in all things. Then we go into the third grace of understanding. And we remember that we cannot see the entire big picture of everything. We don't know why bad things are happening, and we don't know why people have mistreated us. We don't know why someone can't honor and appreciate us. We'll never know all that. But what we can know through the grace of understanding is that we also don't see all the ways that the universe is working on our behalf. We don't see all the ways, we don't know all the ways life is coming together for us, and that it does actually have our back. Which is why seeking only the wonder that is God is actually a very big deal. So we can have the synchronicities and we can get the guidance when life is showing up for us. Okay, then we have again now the fourth grace of fortitude. We will have to listen and act when God speaks. We will have to live in faith. We will have to commit to seeking only the wonder that is God. Right? And this is not always easy, right? Things may be hard in your life right now. We don't always have a great support system. We don't always have people encouraging us, right? Many people right now are dealing with a lot. But when you can remember to seek only the wonders that are God, when you can remember that you are divinely designed to be here right now, and you were designed to do all this, when you can do all that, you are one lit soul. And just think about what one lit soul can do, right? This is the way to freedom. This is the way to the understanding that everyone is a holy partner on this journey. Everyone is here, right? We're all here together doing this right now. And when we can remember that and we're connecting with each other, well, this is how we create heaven on earth. So until next time, do remember, you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. And everything you do, you are blessed. And so it is.